Hello, my name is Reliant Kitten, or RK, and this is part 1 of my Learn2Tank series. In this series, I'm going to try to explain the ins and outs specifically of Feral Druid tanking, but hopefully other classes will also be able to pick up a little bit of something from my discussions. So today we'll be exploring the existential question of what exactly is a tank, as well as discussing some of the common misconceptions about tanks, some of the reasons why you might want to learn to tank, and specifically why you might be interested in tanking as a feral druid. It's kind of hard to keep your fur clean when you're in the violent fray, so go on and grab your towel and we'll get started. First of all, what exactly is a tank? Well, tanks are the first line of defense. Your job as a tank is to keep the attention of an enemy or group of enemies while your friends or random group members do everything they can to top DPS meters and stress out the healer. Officially, that's the extent of your job description. However, just as in reality, over time we accumulate new job responsibilities, such as being the only one to not stand in the fire, or marking kill orders that everyone ignores, and calling out every single ability the target is ever going to do because your group's SCADA bars are covering up their DBM announcements. Basically, if the mob starts to wipe its ass, you as the tank are expected to announce it to the entire world. Additionally, most groups will look to the tank as the leader, so you will be expected to know exactly what you're doing, as well as to come up with the strategies for the fight and generally handhold the others in your group who didn't bother to watch the strategy video. There are some fairly common misconceptions about tanks in general. Tanks are all asshats. In reality, only most of us are. After a few pugs where the DPS are not following your kill order, or are randomly pulling things for you, or just doing something else that's really not too bright, you will well be on your way to becoming an asshat too. Tanks are all male. Believe it or not, girls exist on the interweb, girls play World of Warcraft, and oh my god, girls even tank. Good tanks are all male. Now, I'm not the best tank on the planet, but I'd say I'm pretty good. In fact, one of the 2 feral tanks that everyone looks up to is actually female. I've also known 2 other female tanks in high-ranking guilds. Girls may not be as common as guys in the tanking world, but we do it just as well. And arguably we do it better because we supposedly have better abilities to multitask. I think I missed out on that gene. Tanks have nothing better to do but stare at timers. This really could not be farther from the truth. Tanks have their own ability rotations or priority system that we have to keep up with. We also have to move/adjust the boss as needed. We have to be prepared to blow our cooldowns for high damage phases, and we have to watch for interrupts. These are the same things that the DPS have to do. If we can glance at our timers and see that an ability is coming up, or notice that DBM is yelling at us that something needs to be dispelled, so can the DPS. Healers, they have a little more slack. You really do have the hardest jobs in this tier of content. Why exactly might someone be interested in learning to tank? Maybe you like being in charge. Since everyone tends to look to the tank as the leader, you can be bossy and get away with it. Just don't expect to be liked for it. This only really works in pickup groups. You suck at DPS and healing? You know that old saying, those who can't teach? Well, the same can be applied to tanking. Sure, you still have a rotation, but you're expected to be at the bottom of the DPS list, and healing was a whole lot easier back in Wrath when I only had to count to 6. Just like teaching, however, it's really not a walk in the park, and at times can actually be a harder role to fulfill. You like instant queues for dungeons. Every once in a while, someone puts a bag of holding into a portable hole and rips apart the fabric of reality, which sucks up all the healers or, heaven forbid, the DPS, and you as the tank get stuck waiting in the queue. Generally, however, the queue is waiting on you as a tank and is so grateful to be out of their 30-minute AFK watching Golden Girls reruns that you can generally be extra bossy and they'll take it like a champ. On top of the instant queue, you also get a bag with not enough gold to cover your repair bill from all your wipes, potions or elixirs for a spec you'll never use, and an extremely small chance of a mount or pet you already have as a reward for sticking through with a terrible pug full of keyboard turners. You've got a hero complex. Something about rescuing a princess gets you all hot and bothered. You want a sword, a shield, a set of full plate, and a charisma score of 18 so you get that ping when you smile. Even if you're an emo quasi-undead or you have fur in rather uncomfortable places, you like being the first into the fray and either the first or last to die. Take your pick. Heaven forbid you actually do something because it's, fun. That said, tanking does not appeal to everyone, and at times it can be stressful. Then again, so can all three of the roles. Maybe you're in that small minority where your guild really, really, really needs a new tank, and you're just too damn nice to say no. Trust me, I've been there. I hope that you do find your time as a tank enjoyable, and that your guild really appreciates your learning a brand new role just for them. There are 4 different classes with tanking abilities. Mages, super aggro are not one of them. So why would you choose a Feral Druid? Well, we never have to look at mismatched armor. Sure, when our sets look good, we tend to miss out, but there's enough AFK time in Stormwind or Orgrimmar to indulge your vanity. We can use our tanking gear for DPS. Sure, we'll do a bit less DPS than a properly geared cat, but you'll be a damn sight better than the other tanks, and you get to save on bag space. Plus, cat's an off-spec, so doing less damage is kind of expected. You're into the whole furry thing? At this point, you could technically roll a Tauren or Worgen anything and satiate your desires, but I guess variety is the spice of life. Druid is the only tanking class that offers a ranged DPS off-spec option. If you want to take a break from standing on top of the boss and you don't want to heal, balance for off-spec is the way to go. If you do ever get sick of tanking, you can easily switch specs to fulfill any of the other roles without having to switch mains. I, however, take no responsibility for your shitty healing gear. And of course, druids are the best class in the game. Yeah, okay, I have 4 druids, so I am extremely biased. However, I'm pretty sure Alamos said it best. More objectively, Feral Druids have amazing single target threat, comparable multi-target threat, excellent survivability, and the highest amount of passive magic damage reduction. In addition, we are extremely mobile. We get to make rogues, hunters, and enhancement shamans cry by taking their gear, can add extra DPS against a boss by switching to cat form while not actively tanking, and can sport a hybrid DPS tank build that allows us to save the day if the tank drops in a single target tank fight. On the flip side, our shield is not passive like that of warriors and paladins, so while our multi-target tanking has gotten better, it's still not as good as that of a shield wearer. While technically all of our druid utility spells, such as Rebirth, Innervate, Tranquility, and Soothe, can be used at any time, they certainly should not be used while actively tanking, as they will force a shift into caster form, which is just asking for an instant gib. Druids also have one of the most heated stat debates, and we gear differently from the plate-wearing tanks due to the nature of leather armor and agility, which has lent itself to a lot of misunderstanding about feral tanking. That's not to say that the other tanking classes don't have their own strengths and weaknesses. No one class is the be-all, end-all of tanks. Each brings a unique flavor and set of abilities to a group or raid. How each of the 4 use their abilities and fit into the structure of your raid is what makes them unique, and the playstyle is vastly different between them. So, in a nutshell, tanking is fun, feral tanking is really fun, and druids are the best class anyhow, so naturally feral druids are the best tanks. Did I miss anything?